Okay, good morning, everybody. Those that are on Zoom, Facebook, whatever. Good morning. Today is a very special day. It's Yud Gimel Tammuz, celebration of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe and his release from prison. So it's let me just mute everybody. So it's a extremely special day for Chassidim and for the world, for the Jewish world, as because Baruch Hashem, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was safe in his situation of first a punishment of death, and ultimately be allowed to live and ultimately come to America and transform the world. So today is a Yom HaGeula. Today is a day of liberation and liberation by a tzaddik, by a nasi, a leader of the Jewish people. Makes it a special day that we all can connect to some aspect of liberation today, and to be liberated in a certain way, and spiritually, physically, etc. The best way to be liberated, as the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, there's no free person, but a person that studies and learns Torah. Because freedom, the aspect of freedom, 4th of July, is to have a freedom of the mind, that your mind is free, and you're not subjected, and you're not under the influence of outer things in the world, out of other people, other situations, and you have your free choice, as the Rambam Maimonides says. That's true freedom, the aspect of free choice. So therefore, there's freedom physically, there's freedom spiritually, and the greatest freedom that can be is the freedom of spiritual freedom. That's why it's brought down that the Yebusha took the Jews out of Mitzrayim, because if they would have stayed a second more Mitzrayim, they would have went into the 50th level of impurity, which would bring about an impossibility for them to become free spiritually. They might have become free physically, but they would have become so impure, so spiritually defected, God forbid, that they wouldn't be able, chas v'sholem, to be able to overcome the impurity. Matan Torah, the aspect of what came about through Matan Torah, was that every Yid has the capability to get out of his impurity, because it's something, as the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya, it's something that is mushrish in every human being. His Ava HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his oneness with God, as the Alter Rebbe starts off in the 2nd chapter of Tanya, that every Jew is a chelek elokah mimal mamash. Every Jew is a part of the Yiddish. So it's impossible for him. As the expression down to Rebbe would say, Ayid nishta ken, nishta vil. A Jew not he can and not he wants to be cut off from God. It's not possible. Because he has a nefesh elikis. It's in his part of his existence. We're starting chapter 45 in Tanya. It's a very short chapter, but it has a big punch, so to say. The Alter Rebbe, in the previous chapters, from chapter 41 until chapter 44, which we ended last week, the Alter Rebbe introduced us to two powerful emotions in a human being. The power of Ava and all its capacities, and the power of Yira and all its capacities. And what is the meaning? How does one accomplish Yira, law, the upper level of Yira, the higher level of fear, and how does one accomplish the lower level of fear, Yira Tatov? And then the Alter Rebbe went into Ava, to love, that we have Ava law, Ava Tatov, and the Alter Rebbe divided. We have the upper level of love, we have the lower level of love. The Alter Rebbe divided it into 4 different categories. He divided it into the concept of Ava Rabba, a great love, and he then went to the concept of Avas Olam, the aspect of a love within the world. And then he went to the concept of Ava Nesuteres, the hidden love, the love of that each we have, betivui, in our nature, from Avram Avinu. And then he went into even a deeper level of love, Abba Haben La'av, the love of a father to a child, or a child to his father, which is mamish, one part of the mitzias of the father. It's not a Yerusha, it's like a father. The expression of the Gemara is a father is bar karad avua. A father is the foot of a son is the foot of the father. And that's also biteva, in the nature of every person. To have that, so we have two avos, the Alter Rebbe said, that is in our essence. We have a natural concept of love, which is a love to the Eibishter, because we are part of him, and God's part of us. And we have the second love, which was given to us by Avram Avinu, the concept of chesed. But the Alter Rebbe ends off chapter 44, that the avas olam, the love that comes through our avodah, the love that comes through our service, even though it's not natural, and even though it's not Abba, it's not a great love, the Av of Tanugim, the love of delight, which is the love of Tzaddikim. So it's our avodah, our service, and our dedication, and our breaking through all the tainings and taivas and delights and desires of the world. And to overcome it, that's the ultimate Abba. That is what the Eibishter, that's what God is looking for. As the Alter Rebbe says, is the example of God loves gold over silver. Because it's hard to acquire, but something that's hard to acquire is much more expensive, it's much more precious. And that's the beauty of Avas Olam, the love of the Jew that overcomes his world, so to say, overcomes his challenges in the world. Alter Rebbe now introduce us in chapter 45 to another powerful thing that we all have. Another powerful concept. Because as we know, we call the patriarchs Avos and the matriarchs Elois because they inherited to us three concepts. They inherit, as a parent inherits his child, so too Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov inherited to each and every Jew, inherited to them three characteristics. And Avram is Midas HaChesed. Avram is the attribute of kindness. Yitzchak is Midas HaGevura. Yitzchak is the attribute of severity. Comes Yaakov. Yaakov in Kabbalah, Chassidus, is Midas HaRachamim, is the attribute of mercy. The third attribute, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes. The Midas of Tiferes was the beauty, which is the aspect of Rachamim, which is the uniter between Chesed and Gevura. It brings Chesed and Gevura together, and it makes it beautiful. So Chesed has some Gevura in it, Gevura Shebechesed, and Gevura has Chesed Shebegevura, and they're united as one. And how do you unite Chesed and Gevura? How do you unite the concept of Gevura, the concept of severity and the aspect of Chesed, even in the basic principle, I will soon see, is through the concept of Rachamim, through the aspect of mercy. And that's what we need to work on, the Alter Rebbe says in this chapter, is not only an Ava, not only a Yira, but we can acquire actually the Av and the Yira, we can acquire love of God and fear of God through the attribute of Yaakov Avinu, through the attribute of Rachamim, through the concept of mercy. Now, Yaakov has there's many midas that Yaakov is connected to. Yaakov is midas shel emes, Yaakov is midas shel Torah, and they're all interconnected. Because the Torah, its annals are peace and its beauty. And why? Because the Torah, the Eibishter has the ultimate of Rachamim. God has the ultimate of Rachamanis. And he's a forgiver, and he's a continuous forgiver. God. He's a non-ending forgiver. Yes, I will try. I should. So the Eibishter has Rachamim, mercy, he has ultimate of mercy. And that's what the expression, Ma nirachum afatarachum. The Eibishter says, God says to human being, learn from me. I have rachamim. I forgive, and I have mercy, and it's boundless mercy, and it's an everlasting mercy, and a continuous mercy. So too, learn from me to have rachamim. Learn from me to have the concept of mercy. And this, Alter Rebbe says, is a very powerful attribute that we all can use for our own service of the Eibishter, that we should have rachamim. Now, in general, rachamim is on somebody else. I have rachmanis on somebody else. But the Alter Rebbe is going to turn it a little bit, and thus says, just like you can have rachamim on somebody else, so too you can have rachamim on yourself. And not only you can have rachamim on yourself, but you can have rachamim on the Eibishter. This is a very powerful thing, as we're going to be introduced to. That the Alter Rebbe says we need to have rachmanis on the Eibishter, on God. We need to have rachmanis on our soul. We need to awaken this rachamim. Now, what is mercy? What's the difference between mercy and chesed, kindness, love? So mercy, so love is a powerful thing, but love doesn't change per se the concept. Doesn't change. I can love somebody, and I will give him, and sometimes it can be a negative love. That's why we have to have gevura. We have to have tough love sometimes. That's why Avraham Avinu, who had Ava, the Gemara, our sages tell us, comes out of him Yishmael. There's a capability that there can be Yishmael in his because when you have love, then your love is blind. When I have mercy on somebody, I want to fix the situation. I see the positive in the situation. I need to change the situation. The example could be given if you imagine you're walking down the road and you see a cat and a human being rubbishing, God forbid, through the garbage. You don't have any mercy on the cat because that's the way he is. A cat or whatever, an animal rubbish through the garbage. You're going to leave garbage out there. They're going to go through the garbage. When you see a person going through the garbage, you realize how far the person has gone, chas v'shalom. How his matziv, his situation that he should have been in, how his matziv has gone, how his situation has gone down, that it can be rubbishing through the garbage. He can go, can have to find his food in the rubbish, the garbage. That awakens up a rachamim to change that person's reality. To go to that person and bring him back to where he needs to be. The chas v'shalom, he shouldn't have to receive his sustenance in the garbage, like an animal. Because that's not the nature of a human being. The Eibishter didn't want a human being should go through the garbage to receive his food. Our rachamim, when we see somebody inside, rachamim awakens up Ava. Rachamim tells us, no, the person does not belong there. The person belongs someplace else. This is a very powerful thing, rachamim. Because you can say, I have chesed, I have Ava, and I can say to the person, okay, leave him the way he is. I love it. I love him. But you know what? I love him in any kind of situation he is. When I have rachamim, I say no. I try to impress upon the person. I try to help the person that he should become better. Because I know the person can be much better. I know the person should be much better. And my rachmanis on the person tries to elevate the person and make him different and change that person's situation. That is rachamim. Now you can understand maybe what rachamim means on myself. I can say, look, I love myself in any situation. And adam oivas asme, that's a problem. A person loves himself. And therefore, he's never going to change. Why? Because you love me the way I am. I'm not a good person, but this is the way I am, and I have to love myself, and you should always love yourself. But it can be also negative. Your love, the Gemara says, Adam Oyevis Atzma, a person loves himself and never changes. Comes the Alter Rebbe and says, your love has to come through Rachamos. Your Ava has to come through mercy. You have to say to yourself, you know what, I love myself, but I could be much better. I could be much better. I have an neshama. I can be spiritually better. I can be physically, I can be better. Why? Because I don't belong in the situation that I am in. I need to work on myself because I have rachmanis on myself. I don't only love myself, but my rachmanis awakens up to true ava, to who I should be and to who I could be. And that's the power of rachamim. That's the power of mercy. It moves a person to do something. So if we had rachmanis, so to say, on God, that God is in Gullus, so that we always say this, now that is going to say it now. But the Eibush is in Gullus. God, forget about that I am in Gullus. It says any pain that we go through, God goes through. So if I'm in pain, God is in pain. Shouldn't I have rachmanis on God's pain? And that would waken up a mercy from the Eibishter. If we had rachamim on the Eibishter, on God himself. And this is it's not a long chapter. Maybe we can finish it today. Let us learn the chapter. So the Alter Rebbe, you can see it in front of you. There's another direct path open to man, namely to occupy himself with Torah and mitzvahs that are l'shma, with the utmost feeling heart of soul. So the Alter Rebbe is giving you a key. He's opening the door for us to find a path, because that's what we are in search for. We are in search for a path to be able to awaken our emotions to godliness, to betterness. So here's the path. Through the attribute of our forefather Jacob, peace be upon him, this being the attribute of mercy. This is accomplished by first arousing in his mind, before his reformance and mitzvahs, great compassion before God. What is this compassion of? So Alter Rebbe says, first of all, his compassion is for the divine spark which animates his divine soul, that descended from its source in the life of life. The blessed, and I said, my neshama came all the way down from Atzilis. It connected to Erein Soy. My neshama comes from the highest of highest. And where the distant soul came down, Hamamalik Lamim. And this soul who pervades all worlds and animates and radiates, which enclosed and is compatible with created beings and encompasses all the world. These are two expressions in Kabbalah. You should know this. It's over in Tanya. Memala Kalam. The way God fills the world. V'seiva Kalam. The way God encompasses the world. So this neshama, so too the soul of every human being has an encompassing concept and an enclosing concept. The neshama comes into a vessel, and at the same time, it is above the vessel. As we always say, the neshama has 5 levels to the neshama. So maybe the first 3 levels of the soul, nefesh, ruach, neshama, the nefesh, the soul, ruach, the spirit, and the neshama is the intellectual part of the soul, comes into the body of the vessel, the body, but the chaya, the life of the soul, yechida, the oneness of the soul, is selfless to the above it. It's like a soul of kalam. It's a concept encompassing him. It's not within him. It doesn't pervade him. It encompasses him. The cool lakame klachshiv, and at the same thing, everything is nothing to it. Because the soul was created, that we learn Chassidus, before the creation of the world. So each one of our souls is thousands of years old. There's actually no date to it. It was before the creation of the world. No date to it. It's a timeless issue. And therefore, what is the soul? What is to the soul? The 70, 80 years that a human being goes through its avodah, its service with it. It's nothing to the soul who is infinite, who has a concept, a spark of infinity. What is a finite concept to it? And then what does God do with it? And it's been clothed, it's forced against his will. He's forced to be enclosed in a body which is called a serpent skin. Right? It's called a serpent skin in Kabbalah because it's Orum. Well, Orum is naked. Orum, that's the verse in the Torah. The Nachash was naked. Or the naked, every animal's naked. But Orum comes from nakedness. That means it has no shame. And Orum also comes from crookedness. The Nachash was crooked. And it was shameless. And the human being sometimes reaches up to this level. His physical side of him reaches up to a selfish concept. The capabilities. Imagine you take something that is spiritual, godly, a soul that is selfless, totally selfless, it has no personal agenda. Its whole agenda is to serve the Eibishter, to bring godliness. That's his agenda. It has no personal agenda. And you put him into a body that is totally selfish. And the truth is that you think about it, when a child is born, he's totally selfish. You have to educate this child. It's a selfish entity. That's what it's put down. The first 13 years of a child, or 12 years of a girl, it's a selfish being. It's a nefesh habahamis. He's an animalistic being. Selfish. Then you put into it a nefesh elokis. You put into it a godly soul. And in the Kabbalah, it's called a melech zokon uksil. My animalistic soul is called an old, smart king. Imagine an old new guy comes onto the page. A new guy walks in. Shalom Aleichem. What can I do for you? And the guy says, I'm selfless. I have nothing, no personal agenda. I want to serve God. He says, nah, not possible. Impossible. Impossible. How's it possible to be a selfless person? How's it possible to be selfless? It's not possible. It's impossible. If you want to survive in this world, you gotta be selfish. You want to have fun in this world, you gotta be selfish. You want to be successful, you gotta be selfish. Now you're coming, your nephew, the kid comes and says, no, I'm sorry. You can be successful and be selfless. You can be physical and be spiritual. The guy says, you know what you're talking about. It's impossible. It hasn't been like that for the last 13 years. And now suddenly you're coming and to tell me this. It's a very difficult fight. It's a very difficult battle. Because you can't out-trick this guy. You can't outrun him. You can't out-trick him. You cannot outmaneuver him. You have to convince him. We have to convince my nefesh habahamis, my friend. Don't be so selfish. Actually, you want to be selfish? Be selfless. You'll be more selfish. You'll be more successful. You'll be more happy. You'll be more accomplished if you be selfless. Your nefesh habahamis, my nefesh habahamis says, you're crazy. Talking crazy. Talking mishuga. I'm saying, no, I'm talking Torah. That's why he's called Mishra the Chavi, the serpent skin. That was the first guy who said, what does Abish say? Don't eat from the tree. It's a beautiful tree. It's a beautiful tree. Why would God make a beautiful tree not to eat it? You gotta eat it. It was made to eat. Challenge. He gave you a challenge, you challenge him back. He's Arum. That's why he's naked. He says, listen, we're humans. We need to be selfish. We're part of humanity. Humanity needs to be selfish. We eat. the weak. It's the way it is. The Nachash turns to us. And the truth is our body turns to us. It says the same thing. What do you mean you're going to be selfless? You're going to be selfish. You're going to be turned to a shmata. People are going to step on you. You're going to be stepped on. That's going to hurt. Can't do that. And you talk yourself into that. But then you start thinking about your neshama. Then you start thinking about your neshama. I start thinking about my soul. That came as a selfless entity, spiritual entity, stuck in this body. And I know who I am. And I know what my neshama has to deal with, which is far removed from the light of the king's countenance, the great possible distance, right? This neshama came down in my body. This world is the ultimate of clip of coverings and ego. What a rachmanis on the soul. What a rachmanis on this neshama that is stuck in the garbage. He's stuck in the rubbish. Poor soul. Soul that comes from the highest levels of godliness is stuck in my body. And that would be even if I was a tzaddik. It's still stuck in my body. That's why the Alter Rebbe says, when a tzaddik dies, his soul even goes greater than when he was alive. Because the soul is even greater by a tzaddik. So what's the difference? The difference is the next line. And especially when we feel great compassion for the soul, when he recalls all his actions and his utterances and thoughts since the day he came into being, unworthy as they were. When I think all about my lashon hara, all about my machshavas zares, all about my evil talk, all about my evil thoughts, all about my evil actions, and I think about it, I say, look at this. I can understand the body did all these things. I can comprehend my body doing all these things. It's selfish. But my poor soul, Chmanis on my neshama, had to be dragged into this whole shtusim v'avolah, to this vanity and nothingness, and the opposite of its existence, the opposite of what it came to the world for, the opposite of what it stands for. What a rachmanis, what a mercy I must have on my soul. Melech osur behitim, a king of the world is thereby fettered by tresses, by the impetus thoughts of the brain. God is, so to speak, fettered by his impetus thoughts. So now the Alter Rebbe says, you want to have rachmanis on your soul. We need to have rachmanis on God, who's the essence, part of my soul. So in essence, when I do an aveda, when I have an evil thought, I have not only taken my soul and dragged it into drag it, I have taken God, so to say, and schlepped it into the mud. I have to have rachmanis on the Eibishter. And the Alter Rebbe brings down a concept right now. A concept that you can learn one way in Nikra, and you can Chassidus learns it a little bit different. It says, there's a verse, Ki Yaakov chevel nachlasai. Jacob is the rope of his inheritance. Jacob is the rope of his inheritance. The simple meaning is that a rope needs to have 3 strands. So Yaakov Avinu is the rope of his inheritance because he has 3 strands. He has a great father, Isaac, and he has a great grandfather who's Abraham. So Yaakov Avinu comes with 3 strands, which creates a bond like a rope. It creates this bond between that is strong. A rope of 3 strands is much stronger, that cannot be broken. So therefore, we always say, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, in the merit of these 3 great tzaddikim, that each one is Rakei Avram, we say in Adam, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. But when you put them together, there's a chevel, there is a rope. And this rope is unbreakable because it's a rope. It's not anymore one string. It's not two strings itself. It's now not even three strings at itself. It's taking the three and we're binding it together. And when you bind it together, you have now a rope, which is unbreakable. That's what the Gemara learns us. But the Alter Rebbe says a different interpretation to that statement of the Gemara. The Alter Rebbe says, Yaakov Avinu is a rope, like a rope that's connected above, and it goes very far down. Yaakov Avinu, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, is like a rope that is very high above, and it comes very low down. What is the positive about it? Is that you automatically, even though how low you are on the tattered pole, on the rope, but you're still, this is one long rope. When I pull it from below, it moves above. But what happens if I pull it to the wrong place? What happens if I take this rope and I bring this rope into a negative area? Automatically, everything needs to go with it. The rope, as it's above, is schlepped into the negative area. Commercial, that's Alter Rebbe is commercial, as in the illustration of pulling a rope. When I pull Ramata, when I pull the rope down here, and this rope, my rope is my soul. This rope is, as we learned to Chassidus, this rope, this soul is connected to the higher levels and the higher stuff. This soul is connected to the souls of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This soul, this soul is connected to the soul and the word of Atzilus, and it's connected to a chelik l'kal mal mamish. It's connected to the essence of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's a very long rope. It's a very long rope. It comes from a very high place and can go down in a very low place. But when I pull it to the negative, I'm pulling what's above it also to the negative, because it's not cut off. The rope is not cut off when I pull it to the negative. The rope is schlepped. The rope is pulled with me. And if you understand that, if I comprehend that this is one big rope, my soul is interconnected to higher and higher upon higher and higher. And when I pull down here, I'm pulling what's up there. So if I pull down here into a negative place, I have pulled what's up there into a negative place. And that is Golus. That's the Shekhinah in Golus. Not only am I in Golus, not only have I gone into an exile, I have now pulled God, so to say, into an exile. And that's the aspect of Yaakov, that's the emes. That is the truth. In essence, what I'm saying is that Yaakov Avinu, the Alter Rebbe says, Yaakov is the third strand. He is the connector. He is the one who solidified what Abraham and Isaac wanted to bring to the world. And he made it an emes. He made it an aspect of truth, which is Yaakov Avinu, is the attribute of truth. And that became the truth of Am Yisrael forever, because you can never change the truth. And that's why we can understand the whole Soros of my previous statement, and every side that we go through, God goes through. Because that rope, when we are in pain, we're pulling that rope in pain, and God is in that rope in pain. And that is the soid, the esoteric doctrine of the exile of the Shekhinah, the exile, so to say, of the presence of God. It's interesting that they use the word Shekhinah, because the presence, that's the presence of God, the way God, the exile, the way God comes into the Sheikhin Ba'aretz, where the Eibishter comes to dwell in the world. And that's an aspect that can go into Golus, that Chas v'Shalom go into, the Eibishter can go into Golus. But the Shekhinah, when God's presence comes into the world, that concept is dragged along with us. To where we go, That's where it goes. So think about it for a moment. If we take only the physical in Gullus, but our spiritual never goes into Gullus, then the spiritual never goes into Gullus. So we take the spiritual into Gullus, then the spirituality goes into Gullus. That's why it's so important. Chassidus teaches us it's so important, both entities, the aspect of the body and the concept of the soul. That both of these concepts in life should be taken care of. Because a hole in the body is a big hole in the soul, and a hole in the soul is self-understood, a great hole in the body. It's a great loss for the body itself, because the body was created to be a vessel and to be a concept that would bring godliness, because it couldn't have done it without it. So here, if we just thought out to the Rebbe said, we just thought about the Eibishter, we would have Rachmanis on him. And the Alter Rebbe says a verse. I think this is a verse in Isaiah. This is what it's written. V'yashuv el Hashem v'yirachamehu, and let him turn to God and have mercy upon him. Most of us translate it. The way it's translated regular is we shall turn to God and he'll have mercy on us. The Alter Rebbe changes the meaning of that verse according to Chassidus. He says, "V'yashuv el Hashem," you should turn to God, v'yirachmehu, and have mercy on him. We should have mercy on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What should be the mercy? Arousing a great compassion to his divine name who dwells among us. The Eibishter God dwells among us, and he's stuck with us. And where we go, he goes. The Rebbe once, a shliach of the Rebbe, once asked the Rebbe, wrote to the Rebbe, that somebody invited him to a certain event, and he was going to be hoping to accomplish something with this person, and to become part of his Chabad, this Chabad house. And he asked the Rebbe if he should go. The Rebbe didn't answer him yay or nay if he should go or not. The Rebbe just answered him, just remember, you are a shliach. You're a shliach. What makes you a shliach? You're an emissary. You have a mashaleach. You have somebody who sent you. So just realize, wherever you go, the sender goes. The one who sent you goes. So now you have to think about you going to that place. You have to think about the person who sent you. Does he belong in that place? In essence, we are all shluchim. We are here, are messengers of God. That's our journey. We are messengers. That's our neshama. The message is the neshama, the messenger. And we have to think before we go someplace. Does the Eibishter want to be there? He has no choice to be there. Does he want to be there? And then when you brought him there, we got to think, is the Eibishter, is God happy here? Is God happy? Maybe I'm unhappy. Maybe I am happy. What about God? Is God happy here? Is God satisfied here? Should I have mercy on God that he is stuck in here? Maybe I'm stuck. Why is God stuck? The only reason why God is stuck is because I am stuck. So here the Alter Rebbe said two things. We have to have, we can waken up mercy upon our soul, and we can waken up mercy upon God. Who's the essence of our soul? And here the Alter Rebbe introduces us to a beautiful story in the Torah. The Torah tells us, you can see actually from the story, the Rachamim that Yaakov Avinu has. Yaakov Avinu runs away from his brother Esau He's sent by his parents to his uncle, Bava, to marry. He comes there. Torah tells us he meets a bunch of farmer sheepherds at a well. They're waiting to uncover the well, and suddenly he sees Rachel coming towards him, towards the well. He wakens up something within him. Like Yishak, the verse says, by Yishak Yaakov Rachel, he kisses her, and then he says he cries. Yishak Yaakov Yachayeh. What does it mean? I can start with Yishak. He saw this is his bashet, and he's gonna marry her. So he loves her. But why do you cry for? If you're so happy, why are you crying? By Yef, he cries. And everybody's trying to answer this question. Chassidus Kabbalah gives the following answer. Akavina was a great tzaddik. He was a neshama, a great soul. And Yaakov Avinu saw the journey of him and Rachel. The purpose, the spiritual purpose of the journey of Jacob and Rachel. Because in the essence, Yaakov Avinu and Rachel are symbolic to the concept of the presence of God coming into the emes coming into the world, to the attribute of Rachel, to the concept of Knesset Yisrael. It's a very interesting thing, even though Rachel was not the mother of the majority of the tribes, but she was considered a mother of the Jewish nation. We know that. It says, Rachel mefaka al baneha. The Jews were in Golus, and they were being led out into exile, as we're going to be preparing for 3 weeks. We say this, Rachel mefaka al baneha, kol barama nishma. A verse is heard, and Rachel is crying out for her children. This was the whole Jewish nation. And she's crying, we are all called the children of Rachel. Because the Kabbalah, Rachel's Midas HaMalchus, not going to go into the Kabbalistic concepts, it's very deep. But Yaakov is the attribute of Emes, Chochmah. Nachamim is the attribute of Emes and Nachamim together. And Yaakov Avinu sees the Bnei Yisrael, his whole future, his whole Am Yisrael, and he awakens up a mercy within him. He kisses her, and he starts to cry. He loves her, but he has unbelievable rachmim for her. And that awakens up rachamim for then and forever. And that is the story, as it says. And Jacob kisses Rachel, and he lifts up his voice and he weeps. For Rachel is the Knesset Yisrael, the community of Israel, the fountain of all souls. So that's Rachel, the supernal attribute of Malchus, of Atzilus, the source of all souls. Jacob, in his supernal attribute, is the attribute of mercy of the world of Atzilus. Is the one who arouses great compassion for her, for Rachel, the source of all Jewish souls. What does he do? What does Rachman do? By Yisrael's koilot, he lifts his voice upwards from the fountain of the high to the fountain of the higher mercies, to the source of the 13 attributes of mercy. By Yisrael's koilot, by Yef, he cries, he awakens up a greater concept of mercy upon the souls of the Jews throughout all generations. Hanikar Avarachman, which is called the Father of Mercy, in their source. And what is in their source? Vayef, and he cries and he wept in order to awaken and draw from there the boundless divine mercies, abundant compassion upon all the souls and upon the font of the community of Israel. Makar, source of the community of Israel. To raise them up from their exile. And to unite them with a higher unity. The light of the blessed Ein Sof, and that's the concept of kissing in the Torah. Learning Torah is an aspect of kissing. The highest level you can connect to God is through learning Torah. That's a kissing mechanism. In the Torah, just like in the physical world, there's hugging and there's kissing. We hug HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we hug God through a mitzvah. We kiss the Eibishter, so to say, through learning Torah. That's our kiss, and that's the attribute of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu taught the Jewish nation how to kiss HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how to learn Torah. That's why Yaakov and Moshe Rabbeinu are in the same midah, this emes, and the attribute of Torah. Ish Tom, a simple man, Yoshev Ayaholim, who sat in the sense of learning, the tent of learning. And Yaakov not only learned Torah, but he brought out the midas harachmim in Torah, the midah, the attribute of mercy in Torah, the concept of to be able to be merciful. So he learned from Torah, as we should all learn from Torah, the aspect of mercy, to be able to awaken up the mercy upon somebody else. That means that even though the person is negative, even though the person is terrible, you still have mercy upon him. Maybe it's hard to love them, but if you had mercy, you would automatically love them. Because we have to have mercy on everything that God created in the world. We have to have mercy even on the negativities of the world. That's the only way we're going to be able to ultimately outrun all these issues, is when we have mercy on ourselves, even if we're negative, even if we know we are negative, even if we know we're imperfect, but we have racham because we know what we could be, and we know what we should be. And maybe if we had mercy on ourselves, we would be able to connect to the emes. We'd be able to connect to the truth. We have to have mercy. And that is, look at the Alter Rebbe coming to the end of this chapter, which is in attachment of spirit with spirit. As it's written, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Yishikenim and Shikis Piu. This is the Eibishter saying, telling a Yid, please kiss me. Please. How do I kiss the Eibishter? The Shikas Pi. How do I do that? By words of Torah. When my words, when I learn Torah, the Eibishter learns Torah. We're kissing each other. We're uniting with each other. We're loving one another. As he says, which means the union of the word of man who studies Torah with the word of God, namely the Allah. Umaisa the Maisa, and an action with the divine action, mitzvahs. Ubefrat Maisa Hatzedakah v'Chesed, particularly the practice of charity and loving kindness. The Chesed Dor Yemina, because Chesed, kindness, is divine right on. V'hu bechinas chibuk mamash, and that's the actual embrace. Kameshakasi Yemini Tikrapteni, you take your right arm and you hug HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the mitzvah. See, imagine if you had the dibur and you had the maisa. So you had the hug and you had the kiss. Like the Gemara says, when you give somebody charity, you get a great mitzvah. If you say a good word to him, you get a double, triple. The Gemara goes through 5 mitzvahs, 11 mitzvahs, whatever. It's double, it's triple the amount of power, the good word that you say with the action. Because the action is the hug, the dibur is the kiss. And while one occupies with the Torah by the word of mouth and consecrates thoughts, constitutes actual peace. By days there, this way, through the arousal of deep compassion from the soul, which brings about the study of Torah, the performance of mitzvahs, one is able to attain the level of Ava. Here, the Alter Rebbe gives you not only the key to have Ava, but the key for every one of us to reach up to the highest level of life. That is what it says. So Yaakov asher poda es Avram, and therefore it's written that Jacob redeemed Abraham. Abraham was midas chesed. Jacob is midas rachamim. Midas chesed has a negative vibe. Can come out Yishmael, because I'm not going to rectify him. Gevura can come out an Esav. Yitzchak is Gevura, great tzaddik, but he can have an Esav. Yaakov Avinu redeemed his father, Abraham and Isaac. Yaakov Avinu redeemed, actually, Padas Avram, he redeemed the concept of chesed. Yaakov Avinu not only redeemed, that self-understood, he redeemed his father Jacob, Gevurot, severity, because Rachamim automatically overcomes severity. So even though I should be severe, maybe, but Rachamim tells me, no, I can't. Because I have to look at the bigger picture. I have to have rachmos in the person. So I cannot be severe upon him. Rachamim, the chiddush over here, the great concept over here that Alter Rebbe is teaching us, is that Rachamim can even fix Ava. Because our Ava, our chesed, could be corrupt if it's not I'm not there to rectify that person. I'm not there to elevate the person. I'm not there to bring the person back. I'm just there to keep the person the way he is and have love in him. No, true Ava is that I love the person to go back to where he was, to where he should be. So true Rachamim myself is that I don't have Ava to myself to be the way I am. No, that to be the way I should be. And that's the midah of Racham, and that's the greatness of Yaakov Avinu. Commissioners by b'makom achar, as explained in another place. So now we have finished today. Amazing! I've done it the first time in my life. A whole chapter in one day, one Sunday. We have finished a chapter, Baruch Hashem, and we should all have learned. Today is Midas HaChesed. Today is Sunday. Midas HaChesed, but we should always have Yaakov Shaparas Avram. We should have Jacob who redeemed Abraham Chesed, and we should have Rachamim, and our Chesed should be influenced to the attribute of Rachamim. Sorry, I have to end a little early. I wish you all a wonderful, beautiful day, a happy day, a healthy day, a Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz day, a day of Geula. May we redeem our souls. May we redeem ourselves. May we ultimately bring a geula to the Eibush himself, that he should redeem us out of Golos and he should dance together with us. I'd say no Agdosh on this special day to the Holy Land of the coming of Mashiach and Meheda the Yameinu Mamish. Have a beautiful, happy, and healthy day.
Thank you, Rabbi.